The reason that we're here today is because there has been a constitutional explosion that has taken place in the last 15 months. Basically, we're now faced with an administration that is threatening our nation with the creation of the greatest national debt since the beginning of this country. This has been the most blatant power grab that we've ever seen by any administration in our lifetime. Most Americans, however, consider politics as boring and something that they don't care to understand. But I want to tell you, it's time for we the people to realize that we are the government. It's because we need to see a reinstitution of conservatism in this country once again. We need to stop talking about Ronald Reagan, and we need to find a new Ronald Reagan. This is the reason why we're all here today. Because suddenly we're seeing our nation being fundamentally changed as the government exponentially is expanded. Suddenly, publicly held corporations are being taken over and run by the federal government. By some estimates, just last week, they estimate that up to 55% of our gross national product is now under the United States government.
The government works for us. We employ them. And it's time to say to most of the incumbents, in the words of Donald Trump, you're fired.
Regular Americans are forced to budget and cut back when they're in debt or they lose their earning power either through taxes or the loss of their job, except for the federal government who can print more money and spend their way out of debt. Regular Americans can no longer turn on a light or use a toilet or even breathe without some federal regulations, except for the federal government, where they exempt themselves from all the regulations that they pass. Regular Americans are required, in many cases, not to mention God or Jesus Christ in the public sector, on the job, or on educational campuses. Our children can no longer be allowed to celebrate Christmas and Easter in school, but are expected to learn about Ramadan, Islam, Mohammedanism, Wicca, Earth Day. Except for the federal government, which opens every session in a prayer. It is time for the federal government to sip the same soup that all real Americans are forced to live on day by day. What's good for the gander is good for the goose. My fellow Americans, we're dealing with issues of moral clarity here. Ultimately, the political struggles we now face are not left and right issues, but they're right and wrong issues. Moral clarity is based on truth which justifies one's direction and cause. Moral clarity is based on something that is good, right, and virtuous. Similarly, if you believe when you sing the song, God Bless America, then you believe that this nation came into existence because of Him, and God has used this nation to feed and bless other nations, then you believe in American exceptionalism. On the other hand, if you don't believe this, then you will believe that America is just another corrupt country, a bully not worth fighting for, or needing to be fundamentally changed. What you believe is determined by your values, and hopefully your values are based on virtue and not just personal achievement or humanism.
How long have we been told our bodies are ours? Mostly this concept has been hijacked in the past by liberals for abortion issues. Progressives in this country for years have decried any government limitation of abortion at any time and in some states at any age. The reality is that no matter how much abortion is abhorrent to you at this time, it is still a choice in this country. Women can still choose life or abortion. However, with the new health care bill that was just signed into law, all Americans are going to lose control over their own bodies as to what procedures are available to them and where they can get the procedures. And as in most socialist countries have single-payer health care, which procedures will be available to the person considering their overall health index, which will take into consideration their age, their health and productivity, and quality of life. Let me read another quote to you. This is from the new law, the Healthcare Law, Section 1401. A Center for Comparative Effectiveness Research would be set up, creating a bureaucracy through which federal employees could determine whether any treatment is, quote, unquote, comparatively effective for any individual based on the cost, likely success, and the probability of years left in life. In other words, we're going to be turning out a lot of our old folks. We're going to be turning around a lot of our terminal folks because they don't necessarily meet the health index range. Every day, little by little, the federal government takes more and more of our choices away. Never in the history of this country has there ever been a law that forces Americans to buy a product under penalty of law. It's my choice to decide if I want insurance or what insurance I want to buy. Nowhere in the Constitution does the federal government have the right to make me buy something from them. It's time for we the people to educate ourselves on the Constitution and become more aware of the founding principles and the founding morals that founded this great country. Lastly, it's time for we the people to oppose the status quo, not with violence, but with moral clarity and reason. Sir Winston Churchill emphatically said, "If you will not fight when it is easily won without bloodshed, if you will not fight when your victory is sure and not too costly, you may come to a moment when you will have to fight when all the odds are against you and only a precarious chance of survival. There may even be a worse case. You may have to fight when there is no hope of victory, because it is better to perish than to live as slaves." Never forget, the moral order of this government comes from an eternal, righteous God who has given it to us, we the people.